comes innovation. In conditions of forced isolation, virtual tours became the only opportunity for the survival of the tourism sector and gained special demand. Of course, this dictates new rules for doing business. In first 3 quarters of 2020, a huge number of successful projects in this sphere were implemented. For instance, virtual tours from Japan have visited the Savonlinna region in eastern Finland. They traveled using live internet broadcasts and videos. Firstly, they made a virtual flight and then continued the trip by train. The trip took several hours and cost only 20 euros per person. Thus, another significant advantage of virtual trips is their relatively low cost. Virtual tourism is extremely diverse. The website Polar Bears International offers live internet broadcasts for those who dream of seeing the Northern Lights. The St. Lucia resort hosts virtual meditations on the coast. Besides, you no longer need to travel thousands of kilometers to get acquainted with the expositions of the world's most famous museums. This raises a number of questions. What is the consumer's attitude to the forced digitalization? Are they interested in further development of virtual tourism? Do they equate virtual tourism with traditional? And will virtual tours lose their relevance after the pandemic? In order to get reliable answers, I have developed a questionnaire. It was distributed among 200 Russian people aged from 25 to 60, who took part in virtual tours of the State Tretьяков Gallery, the Pushkin Museum of Fine Arts, the State Russian Museum, and the State Hermitage Museum within the last 6 months. In the next part of my presentation, I will present you the results of the survey. 93% of respondents rate the experience of participating in virtual tours as positive. The average degree of interest of consumers in virtual tourism is 4 out of 5, which is a high indicator. Nevertheless, the majority of participants, specifically 76%, do not consider virtual tour as a full-fledged trip due to the lack of live communication, limited viewing space, and the inability to interact with other people. Technical problems were also mentioned as a drawback. The main goals of virtual tours mentioned by participants are inspection of the destination before visiting, a way to spend your free time and get new knowledge, self-development. Based on these goals, we can conclude that virtual tours are predominantly considered as an addition to real travel and not as a replacement. However, the majority of participants, specifically 69%, agreed that virtual trips will be able to compete with and probably replace the real ones in the future. This allows us to talk about the relevance of further development of virtual tourism, as well as the need to improve the existing virtual reality technologies and invent new ones. By and large, we can conclude that travel companies should pay special attention to ensuring communication between participants of virtual tours. For example, through online chats, and concentrate on developing new special effects for deeper immersion. That actually brings me to the end of my presentation. And in conclusion, I would like to say that nowadays virtual reality technologies are widely used in the sphere of tourism, not only as a supplement to real travel, but also as a substitute to it. The crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic has created the promising opportunity for the development of virtual tourism. There are a lot of successful projects which help the tourism sector to survive in hard times. However, at the moment, the majority of people do not identify virtual trips with real ones. Nevertheless, the relevance of the further development of virtual tourism is determined by the interest of consumers. And we shouldn't forget that it takes a long time to reconstruct the human's perception. That completes my presentation. References are presented on the slide. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Anastasia, for a very interesting and in-depth presentation of this topic. Truly, there has been a benefit from the pandemic, such developments in technology. And we have some questions for you already in the chat. We only have time for one question. I will ask the speaker to answer all of the other questions in the chat throughout the rest of the session.
Can I stop the demonstration?
Yes, you may stop the demonstration. And I will read out a question. Do you think that VR tourism will be popular after the pandemic?
I think it will be popular after the pandemic because consumers are interested in this type of tourism. But after the pandemic, they, I think, will visit the real destinations. But virtual tourism and real tourism will be combined in the future, I think.
Mm-hmm. Have you personally tried virtual tourism? What are your impressions?
Yes, I took part in several virtual excursions, and my impressions are rather positive. For example, in the Pushkin Museum of Fine Arts, there are special online chats for the participants so they can communicate with each other, and it was rather entertaining.
Thank you. Thank you for your answers and for a very interesting and deep presentation. Thank you. We have two more presentations today centering on tourism and the future of tourism. As we go, put your questions in the chat and we'll ask them during the Q&A session.
Okay, so our next quote is, some people look for a beautiful place, others make a place beautiful. So, what do you think? What places will we listen to? What places would be described? Put your ideas in the chat, please. Okay, so our next speaker, Anastasia Yudina, third-year student at RANEPA, who is studying at Поволжский Institute of Management, named after Stolypin, will develop this idea. Her presentation is in Russian and is called «Создание креативных кластеров как один из методов ревитализации городских пространств». Anastasia, are you with us? Anastasia Yudina, are you here with us? Probably she's having some troubles with the internet. Anastasia, where is Anastasia?
Mm-hmm. Perhaps we can move on to the next presenters.
Yes, okay. Yeah. So then Anastasia will deliver her presentation when she joins us. So then our next quote. Our next quote is, technology is best when it brings people together. So how is it connected to tourism? Do you have any ideas? Put your ideas in the chat, please.
And we have some ideas coming in the chat already. People are saying communication.
Well, yeah. So our next speakers, Железнова Alina and Fomicheva Arina, will deliver their presentation entitled «Развитие мобильных сервисов для подбора и оформления турпутевок онлайн», and their presentation will be in Russian. Ladies, are you ready?
Да, мы готовы.
Yes. Okay, so you are welcome.
Все видно, да? Слышно?
Да.
Наш доклад — это развитие мобильных сервисов и турпутевок онлайн. Самое главное, о чем мы хотим сказать, в современных турагентствах за время работы скапливается огромное количество информации о клиентах, отелях, проданных турпутевках и другой различной информации. От быстроты работы с этой информацией, ее поиска, сортировки, обновления данных зависит статус и рейтинг компании, а следовательно ее прибыль. Именно поэтому современные организации все больше и больше стараются внедрить в свою деятельность информационные технологии, с помощью которых им удастся автоматизировать процесс увеличения эффективности своей работы. Именно на это направлена наша работа по созданию мобильного приложения об онлайн-бронировании путевок.
Первым делом, для того, чтобы создать это приложение, мы должны выявить тот бизнес-процесс, на основе которого ведет основная работа туристических агентств. Этот процесс – это оформление и продажа путевок. На данной слайде представлена диаграмма в нотации IDF0, разработанная в специальной программе, которая показывает, что на входе этого процесса мы имеем такие информационные данные, как пожелания клиента, состояние рынка, отчеты гостиниц, отзывы, документы, персональные данные и многое другое. На выходе же мы получаем саму путевку, статистические данные или отказ от получения путевок от клиентов. Для этого процесса нам необходимы механизмы и управление этим процессом. Управление у нас изображены сверху, а механизмы снизу. То есть управление – это основные требования по нормам для оформления путевок и требования по отчетности. А снизу – это механизм, то есть люди, которые помогают и участвуют в этом процессе. Главный бухгалтер, менеджеры по внутреннему и внешнему туризму. Далее. Это у нас была первая. Теперь мы декомпозируем этот процесс, и он состоит у нас из 4 подпроцессов. Это формирование заявки, формирование задания составление тура и проверка тура. Здесь уже подробнее раскрывается суть этого процесса. Но так, сейчас. Некоторые процессы выполняются не во всех приложениях. Допустим, формирование заявки на данный момент не затрагивается во многих мобильных приложениях. И для этого мы провели анализ рынка, о котором расскажет Алина.
Ну, изучая рынок мобильных приложений туристических компаний, было отмечено, что на данный момент их достаточно много. То есть они представлены не только для смартфонов, но и в интернете их большое количество. Но важно отметить то, что они специализируются только на том, чтобы заказать какой-то определенный вид услуги, например, забронировать номер или забронировать билеты для перелета. Но когда мы приходим в туристические компании, мы хотим забронировать полный тур, то есть и бронирование отеля, и покупка билетов на самолет. То есть, например, такие платформы, как Booking, они специализируются на продаже и бронировании отелей. Авиасейл специализируется на продаже авиабилетов и других перелетов. Coral Travel оказывает путевки по перелетам, но минус заключается в том, что эта компания специализируется. Когда мы выбираем услугу, мы обязательно должны созвониться, то есть они работают через WhatsApp, и также Annex Tour. Мы как бы выбираем, но все равно нам надо взаимодействовать с человеком, то есть позвонить и договориться. Это является огромным минусом в период пандемии, потому что чаще всего еще просят все равно присутствовать в какой-то компании при бронировании каких-то турпутевок. И наше приложение направлено на то, что мы, как пользователи, вводим всю необходимую информацию, которая нам нужна для бронирования тура. То есть мы выбираем отель, самолет, на котором мы полетим. То есть мы предоставляем все виды услуг. Эти все данные будут отображаться в базе данных компании, и по возможности работник этой компании уже будет с нами связываться, если возникнут какие-то вопросы.
Ну, непосредственный процесс, на основе которого работает это приложение, это процесс формирования заявки. Начинается он с того, что из базы данных турагентства федерального получается список стран, из которого уже пользователь выбирает интересующую страну, после чего посредством связи между таблицами в базе данных в определенной стране выбирается определенный курорт, далее отель этого курорта, после чего у нас есть варианты, что пользователь подтвердит выбор отеля или завершит работу без выбора отеля. Если у нас отель не выбирается, то проходит этот процесс заново с момента выбора отеля до тех пор, пока не понравится. Если понравивших вариантов не находится, то как бы приложение выводит сообщение, что ничего не найдено, и работа на этом приостанавливается, и либо начинается заново с списка стран. Также на этапе формирования заявки пользователь вводит свои персональные данные, на которых есть конфиденциальность, персональное соглашение. С этим всем работает менеджер, который непосредственно контролирует процесс оформления заявки, но он контролирует не напрямую с пользователем, а через контроль базы данных, через специальное Windows-приложение, которое существует в фирме.
Это пример экранов форм, как примерно будет выглядеть наше приложение. На это приложение разработано и техническое задание, то есть это уже полностью сформированный проект, который поможет в дальнейшем развиваться туристическим компаниям в дальнейшей перспективе.
Ну, все.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies. Спасибо вам большое, Алина и Арина. That was really interesting. So now we are welcoming the questions. Итак, теперь давайте посмотрим на вопросы. У нас уже их довольно много в чате. Окей. Так. Сколько приблизительно времени занимает подбор тура после заявки?
Но отклик от базы данных достаточно быстрый, то есть это буквально секунды. Это все зависит от момента заявки до готового тура, это все зависит от самого пользователя, насколько быстро ему подойдет вариант, который он нашел. Но в основном это дело там буквально... Как на поезд, на самолет билеты покупаются в пределах 10-15 минут.
Хорошо. Окей. Так, у нас есть еще один вопрос. В настоящее время уже существует ряд сервисов для бронирования, и свою работу продолжают туристические агентства. Почему индустрия туризма нуждается именно в таком приложении, как ваше?
Потому что это расширит рынок продаж. То есть если туристическая компания, например, Нижегородская, предоставляла услуги только жителям Нижнего Новгорода, то благодаря этому приложению она может расширить кругозор своих пользователей, предоставлять услуги не только людям, которые находятся в Нижнем Новгороде, но и в других городах.
Okay. Спасибо вам большое. So as we have already mentioned, we have a very tight schedule today. So unfortunately, we are unable to read and allocate time to answer all the questions. So I hope that ladies will answer all the questions in the chat during our conference. Девушки, можем ли мы вас просить ответить на остальные вопросы в чате лично тем, кто вам их задавал. Окей? Спасибо вам большое. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we are moving on.
Our next block of presentations shines a light on innovative projects in the restaurant business. And our quote here today is, "The best prophet of the future is the past," by Lord Byron. Any ideas of what these topics could be about? Just put them in the chat and we will read them out. So how is this connected to the restaurant business? What could the next speaker be telling us? Any ideas? Historical tourism from Valeria. Okay, any more ideas? Our next speaker is Maxime Delos, second-year student at RANEPA, Department of Hospitality. His topic is Restaurant Industry Innovations Through the Centuries. Maxime, the floor is yours.
Embarrassing the presentation. Is it possible for you to host it?
Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Can everyone see the presentations? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, good day to you. Let me start. There is no future without the past. To both predict and set the trends in hospitality fields, it is important to have sound knowledge of the history of this industry. Addressing the past will provide insight on which trends were unsuccessful and why. It is hard to overstate the impact of Asia that it had on the world of hospitality and restaurants in particular. On roads from one village to another, you could always find a cart serving fried meats glazed in syrup and hot noodle soup. It was long before sale of food became a highly profitable business. But these chefs were already much more fortunate than regular farmers or hunters, because their work was not dependent on weather or season. There was an abundance of customers because they were not tied to a single place. Let's dive into the history of our more controversial ancestry. The Middle Ages saw a rise of piracy. Most pirates in Asian countries were members of whole criminal empires, with more than 5,000 members. Obviously, could not spend all their life on their ships, so they had to have a home to return. Pirate cities were formed, which mainly took the form of massive gambling houses. An interesting example, in my opinion, was a female pirate by the name of, I'm sorry if I will butcher it, Shinji, who was in charge of a crew of over 80,000 pirates. Last 20 years of her life, she spent running an incredibly successful casino, which made her more rich than any act of piracy she had previously committed. Nowadays, Asian restaurants are Europe's biggest rivals in culinary fame. Japan, for instance, deservedly had the second most amount of Michelin stars, outmatched only by France. Another impressive example is the city of Singapore. With a population of 5.6 million people, this little republic has over 18 million tourist visits per year, visiting primarily for the top-class restaurants. And of course, let us not forget about China, a magic kingdom where wonders that Europeans never even heard of will be served. We had a very bad example of it last year. From the time immemorial, people have been practicing the art of banquets. What is amazing is how little such events have changed since the time of ancient Egypt. The guests came in their best clothes, musician plays on the stage, and the poor could not sit next to the rich. The biggest difference between now and then is the process of setting the celebration like this. In ancient times, there were no professional event managers. Thus, the host was completely in charge of organizing the party. One significant element that is worth mentioning about Middle East and Africa in the Middle Ages is Arabic tea. It was a symbol of hospitality for Arabs. The tradition of serving tea is so intricate that sadly there is no way I can describe it in the time that I'm given. I will suggest reading about it in some time. Continuing the topic of high temperatures, living in harsh desert terrain made preservation and consumption of food difficult. Therefore, dietary laws were implemented, which Jewish and Muslim people still hold to this day. An example of how this aspect of culture have affected restaurant business is that just on the islands of Manhattan, New York, there are more than 500 kosher restaurants. The climate in European countries was considerably colder than in Arabic or Asian countries. Therefore, drinking establishments served mostly alcohol and provided shelter from freezing temperature rather than hot desert sun. Approximately every 20 miles or so along the roads, traveling person would encounter a tavern, an establishment similar to modern B&B. In Europe, the tradition of taverns and pubs have been a significant part of culture for over 2 millennia. However, in approximately 15th century, people's taste has become more sophisticated. With the birth of gastronomic cuisine in France specifically, it has taken a form of art. On the picture on the right, you can see a chef, François Vatel, played by Gérard Depardieu in a movie called Vatel. I suggest you watch it. It's very good. He was a chef in the court of French King Louis XIV, who was so dedicated to his craft that he killed himself on a day of a banquet when a big order of fish did not arrive in time. In modern days Europe, specifically in France, gastronomic cuisine is valued more than ever. The most successful restaurants are the ones that were established in the late 19th, early 20th century. European chefs value tradition more than anything else, as they believe that their cuisine has already achieved perfection. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Maxim, for a very interesting presentation and giving us some insight on how traditions from the past are forming the future today in the restaurant business. I believe it's time for questions. And let's see what we have in the chat. Nadezhda has a question. Which tendency from the past do you personally find the most significant and useful today?
A tendency from the past. I would get significance, judging by significance, I would guess the birth of gastronomic cuisine, the arrival of spices in Europe, pretty drastically changed cuisine as we see it right. We would be probably still eating very bland meals, just cooked beef probably, if not for gastronomic cuisine.
Okay, very interesting. There's another question from Valentina. There are a lot of places about the past. What do you think about the future of restaurant? The restaurant of the future.
I do believe that it is depending on how far into the future we're talking about. But if I will be brutally honest, in some possible dystopian future, the meat will be completely changed for artificial meat. And someday people will probably stop going to the restaurants completely and will just order food to home. But we're talking probably hundreds of years from now, not in the near future.
It will be interesting to be alive in 100 years and see what happens to the industry. Thank you for your answers.
Sad. I hope I will not be around. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxim. There are some more very interesting questions in the chat. If you have the chance, could you answer some and share your insight and your expertise on this matter? Thank you. Therefore, the future does not exist without the past, and this presentation will tell us exactly what the future holds for the restaurant industry.
Okay, so we are moving on, and our next quote is everything you can imagine is real. Pablo Picasso once said that. So what do you think? What might our next presentation be about? Everything you can imagine is real.
Put your ideas in the chat. Creative solutions, Nadia. Digital trends, Anna, technologies. Eva, VR, tourism. Daria, technologies. Very interesting ideas.
Yeah,
thank you.
And you are very close to the actual topic. So our next speaker, Tigran Sakyan, second-year student of RANEPA Department of Hospitality, will share his findings on the subject of modern restaurant concepts. Tigran, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, so you're welcome.
Demonstration?
Yeah.
Minute. Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, we can.
The main aim of my presentation today is to describe experimental and unusual restaurant concepts. Nowadays, people rarely go to restaurants because of coronavirus restrictions and reduced financial stability. That's why they do not choose ordinary restaurants. They prefer bars, restaurants where they can get a unique experience, have some fun, and get unforgettable memories. For many people nowadays, dining is not just having a meal, but experiencing emotional and excitement. In the course of my study, I analyzed professional literature on hospitality and collected data on restaurant guest preference. So now I can identify the most popular restaurant concept types that evoke strong emotions. Among them are the following: gastropubs, single product restaurants, mashups, gimmicks, and pop-up restaurants. I will give the definition for each type. Gastropubs, it is a type of restaurant with unique menus and food pairing. Single products restaurants, this type of restaurant focus exclusively on one dish. Mashups, this concept involves an unusual combination of dishes, decor, and service styles. Gimmicks, it can be a restaurant such as rainforest, funeral lamps, or drive-in movies. And pop-up restaurants, these restaurants can be opened in unexpected places for a limited time. 7 unusual restaurant concepts which illustrate these types have been chosen for this presentation. These restaurants operate in Russian Federation and have become popular among guests. The first restaurant is called Wine Bar 55. The bar is located in Novorossiysk. The bar offers European cuisine. The guests can try dishes such as beef tartare, noodles, or pasta. The bar serves only Russian wines, and this is its specialty. Nowadays, most restaurants offer mostly foreign spirits. Target audience of this bar are guests from 25 to 45 years old who want to try unusual and different Russian wines. For instance, here guests can try a unique wine that has a salty taste due to Nardos. Nardos is a very strong sea wine. Moreover, the bar houses a company store of Chateau Pinot winery. Wine tastings, parties, music or poetry reading evenings, and wine casino are available in this bar. Are you a fan of a series of Friends? I believe somebody is. The second restaurant in my list is called Friends at Monica's Place. The cafe is located in Moscow. Target audience of this cafe are guests from 25 to 35 years old who want to be in the atmosphere of their favorite TV series. The cafe offers European cuisine. The menu includes dishes such as pancakes, American or English breakfast, and other. The cafe has an all-day breakfast. The unique feature of this restaurant is name of the meals. Every name is connected with the episode titles of TV series. For instance, Egg Benedict with salmon is called Days of Our Life, or barbecue chicken wings are called Joe Doesn't Share Food. One more restaurant concept I want to illustrate is single product restaurant. The restaurant of this type is called Cucumber. The restaurant is located in Suzdal. Target audience of this restaurant are guests from 30 to 45 years old who want to try traditional Russian dishes. Often families with children visit this restaurant. One of the most important food products in the region is cucumber. Guests can try dishes with cucumber, such as ice cream from cucumber or cucumber tabolka. It's a type of cheesecake with cucumber. The menu includes traditional Russian dishes such as borscht, dumplings, beef stroganoff, and other. Moreover, guests can taste chef's signature drinks such as vodka on pickled cucumbers or vodka on fresh cucumbers. The next restaurant is called Krendel. The restaurant is located in Moscow. The gastropub offers European cuisine. Target audience of this cafe are guests from 20 to 45 years old who want to try unusual flour pairing. The menu includes dishes such as pork, ribs, quiche with salmon, and other. There's a sink next to each table, how you can see on the slide, because all dishes are eaten by the guests with their hands. Each sink is their art object. It can be in the form of shark or rose, and other. The next restaurant is called Bloodlust. The restaurant is located in Moscow. The restaurant offers European cuisine. The specialty of the restaurant is marble beef. Guests can try marble beef from Russia, Argentina, or Japan. The menu includes classic and alternative steaks. Moreover, guests can try dry-aged steaks. It is the first restaurant with meat sommelier in Russia. Restaurant has a very conceptual dessert. You can see this dessert on the slide. It is beef heart-shaped cake with honey and caramel biscuits, crispy layer, types of cream, and integration of milk and cream liquor. And the last bar is called угрюмочная. Often we talk about рюмочная, but it is угрюмочная. The bar is located in St. Petersburg. This is the first essential bar in the world for the said guest. This vest on the wall where you can cry. The local physiological help center works. You can call and ask what to do in a difficult situation. In the угрюмочная, they pour signatures, strong alcohol, and original cocktails. Moreover, the bar has unique Instagram account with wistful sad pictures. For instance, it can be pictures with Frey, Trump, or Navalny. To sum up, I would like to point out that the restaurant industry is not constant. It's evolving so fast that restaurators must keep eye on everything going on in the market. Restaurators should follow new trends, adjust, and meet up guest expectations. Find some unique, catchy gimmick, and you're sure to attract guests to your restaurant. You have to be creative to win the game. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tigran, for a very detailed description of modern restaurant concepts with the examples of them, which are situated in Russia. So we have a bunch of questions in the chat. And due to our tight schedule, I would suggest answering one orally and all the others in the written form in the chat, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So Nadezhda has a question to you. What is more important, food and drinks quality or unusual concept?
I think it should be in combination, because guests can go in unusual restaurant and they won't try tasty food or drink, but if restaurant can provide it, guests will not be satisfied. And they won't visit the restaurant again.
So everything is important, isn't it? Like both concept and food. Okay, thank you very much, Tigran. So we are moving on.
So we already had a blog on travel and tourism. We had a blog on restaurant innovations. As the audience is probably aware, hospitality includes not only restaurants and tourism, but also events management. Our next block of presentation revolved around events management. Catch our next quote by famous inventor Thomas Edison, who said, "Good fortune is what happens when opportunity meets with planning." Do you have any ideas of what this next presentation will be dealing with? You can put your ideas in the chat. So good fortune is what happens when opportunity meets with planning. What is this about? Time management from Eva. Nadezhda thinks it's about creative ideas in event management and that it's not enough to just be creative. Great ideas, organization of catering, trends, and some rules. You are all very, very close. Allow me to present our next speaker, Marina Tolkacheva, our second-year student at RANEP at the Department of Hospitality, with a presentation entitled Organizational Guidelines and Trends. Marina, the floor is yours. Can everyone see the presentation?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And as it was said, the topic of my report is organizational guidelines and trends of events. I will begin with an overview of the definition of event. And according to Joe Gobert, the most famous event manager, the event is a unique moment in time celebrated with ceremony and ritual. All events are divided into three common categories, which are entertainment, business, and educational functions. Well, an entertainment function is an organized occasion whose main purpose is to entertain a group of people and bring them positive emotion. On the slide, you can see four main aspects on which an event manager should pay attention during preparation for events. Determine the date of the occasion, discuss the format and concept of event, search constructors, photographers, videographers, and designers. And on the day of the occasion, an event manager should arrive at the location in advance and check everything again. And on the next slide, some new trends for private events. For birthday parties for children, candy bars have become quite famous. And as you can see from the first picture, it is such regular bars, but instead of cocktails and mocktails, different candies and cakes are served. As for wedding, online format has sprung up, and the virtual occasion will bring together all guests in a video chat, where the newlyweds will give each other vows of love. Also, gender reveals party came from America. It is a private event on which a parent and other guests learn the gender of unborn child in an unusual way. For example, cutting the cake with pink or blue filling, depending on the gender. Events that are held on business purpose are considered to the second widespread type. Statistics confirm this information. It can be seen from this bar chart that the number of meetings increased gradually from 2005. In 2014, there was a drop, perhaps due to sanction measures in the world. And over the next 5 years, the meetings growth rose steadily and reached more than 12,000. And here you can observe specific rules for organizing business functions. Event manager needs to prepare a detailed scenery in advance. Also, they should take care of the hosts of the function, as their image needs to correspond to the values of the company. If it is planned to hold an event with media representatives, it is necessary to send a press release about the function in advance. And so now we move to educational events, and all preparations for events depend on the type of this function. On seminars, the event manager should take care of creating conditions for stimulating the thinking process. It can be made by using various posters on the topic of an event, or creating a short description of a function so guests can prepare their questions on the topic. Workshops or trainings differ from seminars. A leading specialist shows how to apply a new technology in practice. That is why an event manager should take care of choosing a spacious ground for special equipment. There are debates and brain rings, which are verbal contests where everyone defends their opinions. And an event manager should provide participants with some necessary things, for example, notebooks, pens, or a list of questions. And to sum up, it is important to point out that the industry of event management is diversified, and therefore it's essential to know all aspects of events in order to organize a perfect function. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Marina, for a very interesting presentation and some very practical tips that I'm sure our students and experts can apply in their careers. Let's now throw the session open for questions and answers. And let's see if we have any questions in the chat.
We do.
A lot of questions in the chat. This marks a very successful and interesting presentation. People are interested. Well, Wow, what to choose? What is the most difficult part in organizing events? A question from Anna.
I suppose that the most difficult part is to write a scenario, because you need to create something unusual, and you need to have a lot of ideas in your mind. That is why I suppose that writing a scenario it is the most difficult part.
Thank you for your answer. One more question from Eva. In your opinion, what is harder, creating an offline or online event? A very relevant question.
Yes, I suppose that if event manager is a professional, he or she has a lot of knowledge and skills. That is why it will be easier to create either online or offline format, offline or online event.
Thank you, Marina, for your answers. And you can find more questions for you in the chat to perhaps answer them. Thank you.
Okay, so catch out our next quote. Don't follow trends, start trends, as Frank Capra once said. So, what do you think? What is the topic of the next presentation? It is still somehow connected to events. Put your ideas in the chat, please.
Something connected to events management.
Don't follow trends, start them. Oh, we do have some.
Eva is saying that it's about creating trends in event sphere. Valeria thinks that it's about unique trends appearing due to the pandemic. Nadia, ways that trends appear. Igor thinks that it is about believing in yourself. Very interesting ideas. Okay.
True. Okay. Well, you are almost right, basically. You are almost right. Yeah. So our next speaker will tell us if she agrees with this quotation, and will expand on this topic. So floor goes to Amina Zidinova, second-year student of RANEPA Department of Hospitality, whose presentation is entitled Modern Trends in the Event Industry. Amina?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I will show the presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Okay. Yes, everything's okay.
Okay, I will start. Good afternoon, everyone, once again. My name is Amina Zidinova. I am a second-year student of RANEPA, and I am happy to be here today. Elon Musk once said, starting and growing a business is much about the innovation and drive. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable car, people said, what's wrong with the horse? That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. So the question is, what is wrong with the horse in the tourist industry, and what can be done to advance the industry? Today, the demand for the development of domestic tourism is very high. It is necessary to develop high-quality products to attract tourists to the regions. Events can be an important factor in increasing the tourist flow. To be competitive, event planners should follow the up-and-coming trends, and thus, in my talk, I will look at measure current trends in the event business. Such trend as personalization is the first thing I would like to share with you today. I believe it is important to consider personalization through the generation theory, according to which modern guests can be classified into baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, or Generation Z. I will consider two generations, namely Generation Z and millennials, as they represent the majority of listeners today. Let's start with Generation Z. It is one of the main target group nowadays. At events for Generation Z, the ambience should be more energetic, busy, lively, with the focus on latest technologies. Generation Z prefer eco-friendly options, so the organizer should be responsible for the use of natural resources. The second large target group, millennials, have other preferences. Millennials' purchasing behavior includes quality and convenience.
For millennials, communication is essential, so it is important to allocate special areas for meetings. This group is looking for an event manager they can always rely on. To sum up, to meet the customer's need for personalization, it is essential for organizer to pay attention to the format of the event, the concept, and approach to communication depending on the values of generations. Another significant group of trends I would like to talk about refers to technology. The event planners have to be technical savvy. The first trend on the list is face recognition. This technology records participant facial features using photos and then scans their faces when they register for an event. Obviously, facial recognition can speed up the registration process and make it more secure and accurate. One more technology I want to mention is chatbot. The chatbot is a computer program that simulates human conversations. For instance, there is a section frequently asked questions in the chatbot where the customer can get answer in 1 minute without direct participation of the organizers. Also, I can't help mentioning such trend as a unique location. Out-of-the-box places attract customers and make it possible to stand out from the competition. Just imagine, if the manager offers an abounding castle, a clock tower, or an old bunker, the modern client is surprised and impressed. One of the most striking example is the atmospheric jazz concerts from the company Roof Events. Guests are always delighted to attend such concerts because they are not like any other due to non-standard venue and the atmosphere. To sum up, trends can decently improve the event. In turn, an advanced and successful event being a tourist product benefits tourism industry greatly. Guests come to event, stay in a certain city, and share their emotions on social networks, giving free advertising not only to the event, but also to the city. This allows to develop tourism more rapidly, more efficiently, and more innovatively. So that is the end of my talk. Thank you a lot for your attention. I will be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Amina. That was really informative. Okay, and we do have some questions in the chat. The question from Irina, is face recognition technology widespread today?
I think this technology is well spread in Europe, but in Russia, event managers are just beginning to think about this technology, and far it is not very well spread in our country. Unfortunately, the most ambitious events take place without these tips, and people are forced to stand in quest to enter.
Okay, thank you. And there is another interesting question. So, do you think, just a second, do you think that development of the trends that you mentioned should be boosted by government?
I think yes, why not? Because all of these trends are very important to do and to mention in the work of event managers, and so I think yes, why not?
Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, it would be really great if they do so. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. There are some other questions in the chat, so please dedicate time to answer them in the written form.
Okay.
And we are moving on.
And we have one more intriguing quote for you. When written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger, and the other represents opportunity. This is a quote by John F. Kennedy. How can this be linked to the topic of today's conference? Put your ideas in the chat. Let's see if we have any ideas. Eva thinks that it is about risks. Perhaps. Dana thinks that it is about new trends during crisis. Paulina believes it's about modern strategies. Thank you. This quote truly represents the topic of our next block of presentations. As you might have guessed, the discussion that's about to unfold will move to the impact of the COVID pandemic on hospitality and tourism. And our next speaker is Radima Taraiva, who is a second-year student of hospitality at RANEPA, and she will talk about the impact of the COVID pandemic on the restaurant industry. Radima, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I would like to talk about problems the restaurant industry faced during the pandemic, how these problems have been solved, and about new emerging trends. Well, let's start with common issues. The pandemic caused a lot of problems, both internal and external. Empty halls, cancelled bookings, the coronavirus plunged restaurateurs into such crisis reality. So let's go into details. Starting with internal problems, the main reason for the crisis is the decrease in the number of guests. From the beginning of the pandemic, the attendance dropped sharply and the revenue of restaurants decreased. As Igor Bukharov said, immediately after reports of an increase in COVID rates, Moscow restaurateurs lost 20% of traffic. This has led to the traffic average decrease from 30 to 60%. So it affected the salaries of employees because the restaurateurs cannot pay wages without any turnover. And the situation was critical. Some of businessmen had to resign their workers and cut their working hours. As for the external problems, they are related to the economy sector. The world's economy stopped almost overnight. Suppliers from different countries terminated their contracts. Because of the closure of borders, trucks with fruits and vegetables were unable to enter the territory of Russia. Therefore, some restaurants were not saved even by the possibility of creating a delivery. So such problems have led to higher prices affecting the entire world. The main task of entrepreneurs was to save their business. So restaurateurs demanded to cancel the rent because it was one of the biggest expenses of entrepreneurs, leading to bankruptcy. Considering the situation in Moscow, the authorities signed an order on measures to support small enterprises, to provide rental holidays for restaurateurs who rent real estate owned by the city. As for private landlords, a few of them agreed on rental holidays, but the others, unfortunately, obliged restaurateurs to pay. As for staff, entrepreneurs were able to get some support from the government in the form of payments. Another measure was to compensate workers who had to work part-time. A company that joined the program was required to pay employees while there was the work. The main priority of the anti-crisis programs was to keep as many jobs in firms as possible. Problems caused by the COVID-19 pandemic required solutions, and the first was an urgent need of compliance with new hygienic and safety rules. A lot of new rules were followed by restaurants. They include wearing masks, gloves, washing hands with antiseptic. Many people were not ready to visit establishments even after the restrictions were lifted and restaurants and bars opened. So restaurateurs had to convince guests of safety to get them back. As a consequence, the first measure taken was to revise the restaurant's layout and increase the spacing between tables. Before the pandemic, the standard in restaurants in Europe was about 1.5 square meter per seat, but during the pandemic, the World Health Organization has recommended to increase it to 2.5 square meter per visitor. Restaurant owners had to agree, but with their own amendments. For example, as we can see on the slide, instead of taking the tables out, they placed the protective screens on the tables and took up with toys the places where guests were not allowed to sit. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic made businesses rethink their attitudes and find new ways of working during the quarantine, which led to mass expansion of delivery services. In addition to delivery, the establishments have mastered takeout system when guests could receive an order on the doorstep of the restaurant, non-contact. A lot of restaurants had a delivery before the pandemic, but during the quarantine, some establishments also decided to launch this service. So the launch of delivery has become a growing trend, which helped to solve the problems caused by the lockdown. Another trend worth mentioning is the digitalization of restaurants. This measure helps to maintain sanitary standards. Instead of normal menu, the establishments began to use electronic alternatives. For instance, about half of US restaurants use tablets and automated programs. But the QR codes were used not only to replace menu booklets. In the fall of 2020, a system of passes by QR codes was introduced in restaurants and bars in Moscow. Visitors had to register by code at the entrance, and if one of the guests was diagnosed with the coronavirus, all those present were notified that they were at risk. About 2,400 establishments have joined this program. In conclusion, I would like to say that these measures help to convince guests of the safety of visiting the establishments. Sanitation practices attract new guests and allow restaurateurs to avoid global crisis leading to closure. The restaurant industry has transformed and changed the vector direction in connection with the COVID-19 consequences.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that is true that the pandemic has been really tough on the whole restaurant and hospitality industry. Okay, so we do have a lot of questions basically. So let's go with just several of them. Okay, so Andrew has a question to you. Are delivery services still profitable now? Will they survive in future?
I think that delivery services are still profitable now because it is like an additional profit for each restaurant. I think it will only develop because statistics shows a significant number of people are used to delivery, and for many, delivery has become the best convenient solution.
Yeah, thank you very much. One more question, or I see a short one. Елизавета Kolpakova has a question. Well, you mentioned QR codes. Have they proved to be an effective measure?
Yes, it proved to be an effective measure because digital menus has many advantages that help to grow the restaurant. At first, it's timing. Timing is a key factor in restaurant service operation. With the QR code, customers just need to use their mobile phones to order. Waiters now only serve the food. They do not need any time for registering the order, for example. It makes the restaurant operate faster and smoother. It's an effect.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We do have a lot of questions in the chat, so please dedicate some time and answer them. Really a lot, about 10 or even more. Wow. Okay, thank you very much. So we are moving on, and let me introduce our next quote. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning, by Bill Gates. So, do you have any ideas? How is it connected to our next topic?
Maria thinks that this is about criticism. Nadia believes that it's about using negative feedback. Anastasia thinks that it is a method for hospitality to develop.
Good point. I like it.
Very good point.
Okay, so our next speaker is Anna Konevetskyaya, second-year student of RANEPA Department of Hospitality, who will now share her thoughts on the influence of COVID-19, hotel technologies, and their connection to guest satisfaction. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to tell you a bit more about customer satisfaction and how it is connected to the hospitality role. Well, speaking about technologies, the development of technologies in hospitality industry is really growing rapidly. Businesses are striving for innovation faster than before. And the main aim for specialists in the hotel industry is to attract as many guests as possible. Speaking about the competition for each guest, it requires hotels to improve their technology. That is why it is believed that it is almost impossible to achieve these goals without introducing innovations. In the hotel business, it is essential to understand exactly what guests need and reveal what they might want. And to improve hotel guest experience, hotel businesses always focuses on customer needs, which may be synonymous to the customer wants, and it just analyzes the human behavior, and hoteliers study what psychological triggers make people buy. Speaking about customer needs, it is essential to mention that they are always changing, and changing customer needs always cause innovations. And as technologies are expected to improve the level of overall guest satisfaction, hotels, hoteliers, and experts in hospitality are striving to implement the most effective technology concepts just to stay competitive in the market. Speaking about technologies and the impact of them, it is essential to mention how COVID have impacted the technologies. I can definitely say that technologies may be named as the most agile response to the COVID. And speaking about the COVID, it has changed the hospitality industry in many previously inconceivable ways. There are visible changes such as mandatory wearing of masks, gloves, or taking COVID tests. And apart from that, there are subtle changes that have affected hotel workflow and the operating process of the hotels inside. And to survive, hotels nowadays have to adapt to the changed world. And of course, the main aim for them is to accelerate already existing customer service trends. The first trends to mention is the AE, which stands for artificial intelligence. I can definitely say that the popularity and the need of this trend has grown against the backdrop of the pandemic. And according to the analysis about virtual customer assistants, 71% of the respondents consider that automation and artificial intelligence can improve customer service during the COVID. And therefore, I can say that artificial intelligence is prevailing during the COVID, and it firstly helps to stay agile. Moreover, according to Haddon, COVID-19 emerged a major rise in trends of health security. Why is it important? The main aim for them is to keep guests safe. And as pandemic has led to additional need of cleanliness, use of added space, new hotel health and security trends have appeared. The main feature of them is to reduce customer to staff interaction. And one of these trends is the creation of contactless guest experience. As an example, Hilton launched an app that not only helps the guest with check-in and check-out, but also provides room service options and staff-to-guest communication. Guests can even unlock the door using their phone. And according to Gordon Coles, he's vice president at Hilton's University of Architecture, he is convinced that such technologies have been implemented over 5,000 hotels worldwide. Therefore, I can conclude that in hotel business, companies are striving to understand how to satisfy changing guest needs. And in order to provide with consumer with a satisfactory experience, hotels adopt innovations. Why innovations perfectly respond guests' expectations? Firstly, because of their flexibility. Secondly, because of their great variety. And in addition, they are always based on customer reports. Therefore, they helps to remain relevant and competitive to the modern customer. As have already been mentioned, competition for rich guests requires hotels to improve their technology. That is why it is believed that it is almost impossible to achieve these goals without introducing innovations. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Anna. That was really very interesting. So all these artificial technologies and intelligence, that is something really, well, very interesting. And we do have a lot of questions in the chat. So what should we start with? Oh yeah, Ksenia has a question to you. Do you think robots can replace all staff? And if so, will it rise guest satisfaction? Will it have any influence on guest satisfaction?
Well, thank you for the question. I'd like to start with the satisfaction. I can definitely say that robots and such technologies can improve guest satisfaction for many reasons. Firstly, they provide guests with a great level of personalization. They also can provide, they can simplify the workflow and the operating process of the hotel at all. But still, speaking about hotels and why people go to the hotels, they firstly want impressions. And when we speak about impressions, it firstly interaction with the human. And that's why I think that robots can help, but they cannot replace the humans. They can work in tandem, they can share some tasks, but still cannot replace humans.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Your point taken. Well, maybe one more question. Okay, so Clementi has a question regarding coronavirus and its consequences. So how, in your opinion, how long will it take for hotels to recover financially after the pandemic is over?
It is a very good question, and I think that I'm not the only one to ask it. But still, I don't think that hospitality industry is just going to die against the COVID-19. But I think that the time will pass till we can recover fully. And a lot of resources should be used for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much for your detailed answers. We do have some more questions, so please have a look at them in the chat.
Thank you.
And now time to start a new blog. Anna talked about how new technologies are changing hospitality. And while technologies may be exciting, many people fear that technologies may seriously harm our environment. Is there a grain of truth in this? Our next quote is, "It always seems impossible until it's done." And the quote is by Nelson Mandela. Any ideas of what this next speech is going to be about? About trends, Valeria? Mm-hmm. Any other ideas? That we are afraid to do something new, by Donna. Digitalization, innovations, definitely something to do with all of these topics. And our next speaker will shed a light on this. Sofia Zhanikova, our second-year student of hospitality at RANEPA, will answer the question whether it's possible to merge technologies and ecology and environmental friendliness.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. New smart technologies are emerging with staggering speed in the hotel industry. Hotels are starting to implement such innovations as artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and robots. But at the same time, the Earth is being destroyed by human beings, and the rate of this destruction is appalling. Awareness of this problem has led to the emergence of another trend in hospitality, sustainability. First of all, what smart technology is. The origin of the term SMART comes from the acronym Self-Monitoring, Analysis, and Reporting Technology. This term describes, for example, such technologies as smart controls, which allows guests to control almost every aspect of their stay via smartphones. Using smart controls technology together with CRM software allows hotels to collect valuable data about guests' preferences. This helps to provide every guest with personalized service. Smart controls and such technology as keyless entry can be combined into another cluster named smart rooms. Another innovative technology from this group is called smart mirrors. This amenity combines a regular mirror with a touchscreen. The frequency with which a guest uses smart technology partly depends on the generation they belong to. Scientists distinguish several major demographic groups, one of which are millennials. This generation is considered to be marked by elevated usage of smartphones, internet, social media. According to the statistics of PwC analysis, more than a half of hotel guests worldwide are millennials by 2020. Taking advantage of this, some hotels bring the interaction with the guest through their phone to a whole new level. Ecology is a very strong trend due to the raising environmental awareness. The concept of ecological safety has led to an ecotourism trend. Therefore, ecotourism and eco-hotels are expecting a surge in popularity. An eco-hotel or a green hotel is an environmentally sustainable type of hotel that focuses on eco-friendliness in its services and products and emphasizes minimized impact on the environment. Eco-hotels follow strict guidelines to ensure they meet specific criteria. In order to confirm that all criteria are met, hotels get certain certifications. Aside from economic and environmental benefits of sustainable certification, having a certification in sustainability creates trust and encourages guests to stay in the hotel. They tend to feel more confident if the lodging is certified. Hotels that achieve sustainable certificates share general sustainable tendencies, minimizing water usage, conserving energy, eliminating plastic, etc. The hotel industry faces a choice of two ways: to implement modern technologies or to attempt to be eco-friendly. There is the third way, however, to incorporate green technologies that help the hotel to stay sustainable. Any of the options is accompanied by specific difficulties: high costs, payback time, difficulties with implementation. Hotels are left to weigh the risks and make a choice: technology, sustainability, or balance. That's it. I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. First question that begs itself is, can these two concepts be merged? Can they be united? Sustainability, technology, in which way can they coexist?
Yes, they definitely can be combined. Actually, eco-hotels nowadays are hotels that actively implement technologies, but they implement green technologies. So these technologies are aimed at improving energy efficiency, guest comfort. To be short, I'll name one example. It's a Russian hotel, Lipros. It is located on Ilbras. The hotel has futuristic design, but it has a special system that melts snow for sewage, cleans wastewater, generates electricity, etc. So there are definitely a lot of technologies inside of this hotel, but still it is an eco-hotel.
Thank you for your answer. So there are ways where these two can meet. Thank you. We are a little bit out of time, so we need to move on to the next topic.
Okay, so have a look at the next quotation we've prepared for you. That's a very beautiful one, I would say. We have forgotten how to be good guests, how to walk lightly on the earth as its other creatures do. Very beautiful. By Barbara Ward. So, what meaning does it carry? What do you think? Write your ideas in the chat, please.
Eco trends. I think Ksenia. Could be. Ecotourism. Yes. Sustainability. How we should be more friendly to our planet. And this is connected to hospitality. So an exciting new talk now.
Yeah. Okay. So our next speaker is Anna Maria Sinelnikova, the second year student of hospitality at RANEPA, who will shed light on sustainable hospitality and tell about eco-friendly industry trends and tips for hotels. Anna Maria, you're welcome.
It's not a secret to anyone that all of us constantly interact with the environment. Therefore, staying in hotels and tourism altogether have a significant influence on nature. Unfortunately, this influence is quite negative sometimes. Here is the list of the most commonly noted examples of the damage caused by the hotel industry. First of all, it is plastic waste. Plastic is low-priced material and used practically everywhere due to convenient features. However, it is highly valued to our planet. The decomposition of plastic in soils lasts an average of 800 years. The second one, food waste. 25% of food in hotels is disposed of, what is about 1/4 of each usual meal. The third one is water pollution, and the fourth one, depletion of natural resources. Water, energy. It has been declared by scientists that hotels use more energy than other commercial buildings, as it's required in all hotels departments. Woodlands with its trees, which are a great source of wood to build a hotel. Additionally, forests are a land resource and they can be cut down to set new hotels. The consequences of these issues are obvious. Therefore, presently, green types of accommodation are spreading all over the world, and more ways of reducing the impact of hotel industry on the environment are implemented. One of the key practices is fighting against plastic by total refusal to use it and substitute the plastic amenities with stainless steel, glass, paper, silicone, or by deliberate recycling, washing, sorting, and throwing the plastic materials into the special bins. Decreasing food waste can be considered as one more sustainable hotel trend. The products which have not been used but still good and usable can be donated in charity. The food which is later might be used.
Yeah, sorry. Can you please mute your microphone? It is disturbing.
Галина Борисовна, can you mute your microphone, please?
Decreasing food waste can be considered as one more sustainable hotel trend. The products which have not been used but still good and usable can be donated in the charity. The food which is later might be used as compost on the territory of hotel and become organic fertilizers. Another solution follows from this. It is on-site grown food. In that way, it either attracts guests with beautiful sceneries or is useful for the kitchen. The substitution of ordinary stationery of paper booklets with electronic devices, for example, integrated tablet system, is a coherent, sustainable instrument. Here is another solution how to escape the trash accumulated by hotel literature, printing it with soy-based inks on easily recycled paper. Water usage is another concern. Low flow faucets in the showers and sinks can avoid overspending of the water by the guests, but they also can rationally utilize the towels and linens, requesting not to change it daily. Hotels can switch from usual laundry equipment with high pressure to the low ones as well. Other practices include such procedures as conserving the energy by installing less consuming lights, key master card switches and the LED appliances. Nevertheless, energy issue might be monitored as well. The list of trends which can be followed by the hotels to develop the sustainability is much wider than the above mentioned. The point here is to consider already existing lodgings which accepted eco-friendly policies. There are hundreds of thousands eco-hotels all over the world. A great amount of them is located in natural areas and has their own unique styles, which impress the guests for a long time to come. I'll mention just a number of these successful accommodations. For instance, Saneva Fushi in Maldives has a clear idea to preserve the beauty of landscape, but also provide the guests with the opportunity to merge with nature. Saneva Fushi is situated on an isolated island and built on sustainable principles, totally refuses using the plastic supplies. All the produced waste is being recycled and reused as fertilizers or construction materials. This hotel has the highest ratings and positive feedbacks in which guests noted cleanliness of the locality, water, and beaches. Nevertheless, eco does not always mean being completely isolated from modern world with its technologies or any other type of limitation. An example of this is multinational company of well-known hotels, Marriott International, started minimizing the footprint, rationally expanding water and energy since 2007. They also implemented environmental friendly practices in 2017 by presenting the platform Surf 360, doing good in every direction. The main tips which were introduced by the corporation also include the reduction of food waste level, conserving the energy, and ban on straws and small toiletries made with plastic. The last were replaced with bottles. Therefore, consumers are not limited in any type of facility or amenity during the stay in one of Marriott's hotel in the city center, but they still are able to follow the eco trends. The environmental situation worldwide has forced all industries together with hospitality to take measures to revive the usual processes and change them with the aim to save the natural resources. As it was observed, eco-trends are expanding and there is a variety of sustainable tips for hotel businesses how to protect the planet with its wildlife and still profit. Hence, hoteliers successfully implement them in their practices, showing the possible ways of downsizing the negative impact of the earth. Follow eco-trends and thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anna Maria. That was very interesting. And the hotels that you described, well, they are terribly beautiful. Okay, so it's high time for a few questions. Well, a question from Ksenia to you. Eco-trends are widespread in Europe and I would say in America as well. Are there any eco-hotels in Russia that follow the tips that you've enumerated?
There are a lot of eco-hotels around Russia which are located in eco-zones. Sustainability on the whole is gradually coming to the Russian hotel market. For example, as it was mentioned by Sophie, Hotel Liprus in Kabardino-Balkaria uses solar panels to conserve energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A question from Ksenia. So, well, most of eco hotels, well, I would say they are construction of eco hotels require a lot of money. So, how businesses can deal with it? Is it really profitable to build an eco hotel?
Once managers are ready to switch to eco principles, they should invest a lot of money, but then they will gain more because it is a long term and it will get a lot of profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this trend is a profitable one. Basically, it is still gaining popularity. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Anna Maria. So have a look at the other questions from the chat, and we have one more presentation in this block.
Mm-hmm. And an exciting quote, of course. The next quote is, "Take only memories and leave only footprints." What could this possibly be about? Speaking of hospitality, Valeria believes it's about lifestyle. That's a fair point. Any more ideas? Take only memories, but leave only footprints. What kinds of memories? What kinds of footprints? Any more ideas? Tourism. Considering the section is called tourism, yes, and immersive travel and traveling. Lots of ideas. Let's find out what the talk will really be about. The floor goes to Zinaida Gushina, our second-year student of hospitality at RANEPA. Zinaida, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Mm-hmm. You may start your presentation.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
So the theme of my topic is ecotourism, concept and practices. And let's start. Go green. Sorry.
Zinaida, are you ready to present right now, or would you like to go next?
Yes, I think I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's start then.
Go green, join the green side. Being green is staying clean. Your planet needs you. Safe water drink beer, good for a bar. There are a lot of green slogans that you can see everywhere nowadays. And that is not a lie. It's had definite meaning. It means that more attention should be paid to our planet, the Earth. It is evident that the ecological situation leaves much more to be desired, and it becomes worse and worse every day. There are a lot of plants and factories, cars and planes, plastic and rubbish is everywhere. There is smoke in the big cities like Moscow, New York, Tokyo, and other capitals. Floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, and other disasters happen more and more often. Climate changes. There is a global warming with all its most terrible lasts. That is the fact that such a situation makes humans worry much more and think about how they can help their environment. They try to change something in their daily life. In the period of pandemic 2020, people all over the world began to understand that human being is not the ruler of planet Earth. Life on this planet is vulnerable, and people should introduce nature-saving technologies in all spheres of economics. Hospitality industry is developing in many countries nowadays, and tourists tend to choose most nature-friendly hotels, restaurants, and other entertainment enterprises. Thus, they feel that they help to save our planet. There are a lot of ways to improve our ecological condition. For example, using solar power in place of petrol, buying organic food, saving water and electricity. The last can continue forever, but the presentation focuses on the ways of providing sustainable hospitality and to introduce new eco-friendly industry trends. One of the most popular ideas in providing sustainable hospitality is the idea that green hotel is a good solution of the problem, and this is evident by this fact.
Recent theoretical developments have revealed that they can influence people to make them want to try the kind of trends. In the past several decades, sustainable hospitality has not had an important role in the world of hospitality, but now it is great importance. The most common choice for strategy to study green hospitality is based on researchers' works reviews. In the course of my research, I analyzed numbers eco-friendly hotel industry trends. There are several examples of them on the screen. Cutting down on food waste, growing food on site, sourcing local food, correction of social norms to ensure that plate waste are unacceptable in our society, minimizing water usage beyond the hotel room, in addition to encouraging guests to be mindful of their water and towel usage. Some properties are turning to innovations that can help with providing the hotel an opportunity to be considered as green one. Eliminating plastic. A step beyond recycling, doing away with single-use plastic products can help limit the huge amount of waste stemming from creating and discarding these items. Getting rid of plastic bottles and bags is a perfect point to start. For example, in Great Britain, plastic items like straws are prohibited. Conserving energy. This economically sustainable method is effective and easy to apply. For example, by redesigning the guest experience to encourage guests to apply adaptive behaviors, one way is to replace the mini fridge and the coffee machine in each room with a communal and amenities area in an open guest space. Creating a paperless hotel, a task made easy by a modern property. A paperless management system which will simplify operations and streamline the guest experience while reducing carbon emissions. Integrating sustainability into the hotel architecture. In building new property, there is a 3-0 concept approach, using local construction, materials, and skills, prioritizing energy management and low emissions, and introducing life cycle management into the building process. A large amount of innovations in the 2020 Ecotrends Roundup provide alternatives for wasteful everyday products, from waste-reducing mouthwash tablets to eco-minded bubble tea tumblers. The list mentions some cutting-edge examples like Lucy Hedges award-winning biomaterial, which is made out of represented fish scales and skin. Other waste-containing packaging includes May-Grow wraps that are made of bio-waste and sustainable cabin service decision. There are some more detailed examples below. The first is Finca Rosa Blanca Coffee Plantation and in Eco Hotel. The hotel is situated on organic coffee plantation in tropics. Innovative technologies and materials from recycled sources were used in construction of the building. Also, there is underground electrical system. The pulp of coffee fruits with the organic waste are sent for processing in compost pits. The coffee pulp processed here also serves as fertilizer. Guests can enjoy organic vegetables and fruits growing in the hotel garden to support the economy of the region. Only local residents work on the plantation and in the hotel.
Zinaida, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are running out of time a little bit. Can we maybe speed up towards the end of your presentation?
Okay. I have some examples of eco hotels. I can just show the photos. Oh, yeah. So
the audience can read about them as well.
About how? Do you need information about them?
Mm-hmm. We can take note of some of these examples. And if you require further information, you may contact Zinaida for further information.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so to sum up, there are a lot of ways to make a hotel more eco-friendly. As the hotel's managers work to make the property more sustainable, they may seek some sort of green hotel certificates as a reward for their efforts and using hotel promotion.
Thank you. Thank you, Zinaida. So it's clear that sustainability is the future of tourism and hospitality. And we are nearing towards the end of the session. So we'll be moving on now to the next block of our presentations. And Elizaveta Borisovna will present them.
Yeah, sure. So our final block revolves around exceeding guest expectations in both hotel and restaurant industry. And we'll talk a little bit, or not a little bit, about impressions. So catch out our next quote. Here is a simple but powerful rule. Always give people more than what they expect to get. So, what clue does it give you about our next presenter? Put some ideas in the chat, please. Here is a simple but powerful rule. Always give people more than what they expect to get. Arina Borisovna, what do we have in the chat?
Meeting guests' expectations. A lot about meeting guests' expectations.
Yeah.
The wow effect.
Yeah, well, you are quite right, actually. So our next speaker, Alena Yerofeeva, second-year student. Basically. So we will talk about that now. And Alena Yerofeeva would be our first speaker in this block. Alena Yerofeeva is our second-year student of hospitality. And she will start by talking about meeting millennial customer expectations at hotels. So, Alena, the ground is yours.
Thank you, Elizaveta Borisovna. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, from a hotel's point of view, each target market has advantages and disadvantages. Millennials market is no exception. And the main upside of Generation Y is a passion for travel. For instance, Ryder's Lodge Rosa Hutter in Sochi is suitable for energetic young people who are ready to sky from extreme slopes, visit bars, game rooms, and a cinema. Secondly, it is a good knowledge of the internet. At a hotel, millennials go to the room using a 3D map, and they can order food without assistance or make a reservation for spa treatments via their mobile devices. So Generation Y is willing to accept any new idea of the industry, of the hotel industry in case of travel, and make it more popular and competitive. The hotel business is moving forward, and it's a substantial advantage that millennials provide an opportunity to promote and penetrate into the world of new concepts. Speaking of disadvantages, firstly, Generation Y is quite demanding and pays a lot of attention to their health. Millennials prefer health procedures such as massages and special diet menus. And due to this reason, there is a demand for wellness hotels. Moreover, the need for quick results is another downside of Generation Y. Millennials often expect quick fulfillment of requests, such as check into a room or ordering in a restaurant. They may lose interest in a proposed service if they don't get a response in a timely manner. Thus, if a hotel doesn't want to get bad reviews, it's necessary to constantly listen to millennials' desires and satisfy any request quickly. Well, a lot of people of Generation Y find and check social media platforms of a destination before booking. If a hotel's website is difficult to understand for millennials, they will not book services for it. There are special offers in hotels which often attract Generation Y, like a loyalty program. As the bar chart illustrates, the majority of Generation Y considers that special offers give a better understanding of the hotel brand. Some people feel attracted by personal service, while others are willing to pay more to get additional perks. As a result, hotels need to modernize their website and update a loyalty program to retain millennials as regular guests and attract more of them as new customers. And how to cater for millennials' needs. They often have business trips, tours for study or leisure, and therefore it's hard to surprise them. On the slide, you can see the most essential in-room items. Having them is a big plus for a hotel. The number of hotel businesses services is expanding every year due to the growth of desires of millennials. And if the hotel monitors these changes and provides the essential amenities, then it caters for millennials' needs. Finally, let me turn now to technological sphere. Nowadays, a lot of unique devices and apps are created to meet millennials' needs. For example, Hilton offers its own app, the Hilton Honors, with a quick booking function where a traveler can see details about each room, choose a convenient check-in and check-out dates, and use the phone as a room key. One more extensive trend is an Internet of Things. A guest has at his disposal such innovation as the synchronization of the smartphone and the room, turning on and off LED lighting, opening and closing curtains, temperature control, and many more functions. These innovations attract Generation Y with fast response processing, convenience, and personality, and give the confidence to a hotel that guests will choose them next time. And to sum up, millennials have a lot of advantages as guests, which undoubtedly facilitates the work with them. Despite the fact that they do have disadvantages, it's possible to find solutions and improve their hotel service. So there are enough methods to assess and meet all millennials' needs. Many thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Alona. That was really informative presentation, and I would say, as a millennial, so all as for like a representative of a millennial generation, I would say that all these things are truly essential for me when I choose a hotel or a destination. Okay, so just one or two questions. Do we have any questions in the chat, I wonder?
Perhaps we only have time for one question, a quick one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so while the participants are typing, I have one question to you. So in your opinion, which technological aspect is the most demanded by millennials?
I think that now millennials want to get quick results, quick response. And I think that it is necessary to book quickly, to order something quickly. And I think that as for technological sphere, it can be some apps and devices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so speed is what is in demand nowadays. Am I right?
And of course, personality service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So now we move on.
And we have another quote.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Which marks the new block of our session. People will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Is it true? And what can this be about? A little clue, it's connected to a very recent trend and a very popular trend in modern hospitality. the role of impressions and ambience. And right you are. Because the next presentation is about embracing impression service in the restaurant business. And our next speaker is Uliana Misisheva, second-year student of hospitality at RANEPA. Uliana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just give me a couple of seconds to put my slides. Can you see them?
Yeah, everything is okay.
Good. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we actually move to impression service, I would like to ask you a simple question. Why do you visit restaurants? You can put your answers in the chat box. This is the question that many restaurateurs ask, and this is the main question of the questionnaire conducted by RBC in 2020. And you can see the results on your screen. As you can see, the answers often refer to feeling the sense of holidays and diversity and enjoying the company of your friends and the ability to treat oneself. And the results show that visiting a restaurant today is not just about food consumption. Today it carries a lot more functions that we would ever think of. And if we take a closer look, these replies can be correlated with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And a request for high-quality food refers to the basic physiological needs, and the feeling and the demand to enjoy the company of your friends and to treat oneself is dictated by our love needs and belongingness needs. And the sense of holidays and diversity is dictated by self-actualization needs. And this comparison gives us a fuller understanding of the nature of these needs. And the next step would be to define what exactly the fulfillment of these needs can give to a person. And if we look in the dictionary, a feeling of inner satisfaction and completeness can be defined as happiness. It's that simple. People visit restaurants in order to feel happy. And if we sum it all up, we can see that the feeling of happiness for the restaurant guest consists of the satisfaction of several needs. And this is what impression service is all about. The main idea of impression service is to trigger social and biological indicators in order to make a man create a certain impression in their brain, which will result in the feeling of loyalty, trust, and happiness, which are probably the main things that make us return to the establishment and recommend it to our friends. And there are different approaches to impression service in restaurants. For example, the École Hôtelière de Lausanne highlights 4 main psychological principles that can make your service impression. Those are personalization, positivity, professionalism, and surprise. Personalizing approach aims on making a guest feel that everything that a restaurant employee does aims on providing his comfort. And some of the tricks might be to use guest's name whenever possible, to address them with their name, and to, in return, introduce yourself with your own name. And all of these things make a guest feel special and important for the establishment. Another practical, crucial for providing good impressions is positivity, which includes the change of perspective. If there becomes some issue or some problem, you need to refocus your guest on some positive aspects of the service. And this makes a guest feel, actually feel good after the visit of the restaurant. Professionalism, that was also mentioned by EHL, means encouraging guests' feeling of safety. And this means using professional language and not crossing the border of personal lines of the person. And the main thing here is not to use professional slang so that you don't make a guest not understand what you're talking about. And last but not least, surprise is meant for not only fulfilling guest expectations, but also surpassing them. It's about that you need to understand what the guest's implicit needs are and not only fulfill them, but overdo them. And this can be achieved by providing some surprise entertainment, such as complimentary drinks or complimentary dishes, and by professional music played by the band in the restaurant, for example. And as you can see, there are numerous practices of impression service that might seem quite obvious. But the main thing here is to find a balance of impression service and the actual need of restaurants to earn money. And this is what makes the guest experience unique and unforgettable. Thank you for your attention. I'm now ready to answer your questions.
Thank you, Uliana. Uliana Misicheva has just impressed us with her talk about impressions. And this is witnessed by a lot of comments and questions pouring in. Okay, some of them are very extensive questions. The first question from Eva: what generation is harder to impress and why?
Well, I think that it's obvious that our generation, Gen Z, is probably the most hard to impress because today we live, as compared to our parents, for example, we do not live in a world where we have the need to fulfill, and then we think of solutions. Today, we just have products, we have content that is just going out of everywhere, and we choose what exactly is interesting for us. And I think that this concept is why our generation is the most hard to impress. And but this still is the main point for the hospitality industry. And well, I think that it makes the game more interesting, and it gives us a lot of opportunities, aside from, well, some challenges.
Thank you. A very impressive topic this is, indeed. There are a lot of very good questions in the chat. Please contact Uliana directly and ask her some questions, because Uliana has completed her research work on this topic, and she can share with you some insights and tips on impressions marketing. Thank you, Uliana.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are almost there. Our last presentation and our last speaker and the last quote. So let's have a look. Well, business has only two functions, marketing and innovation. The Czech writer Milan Kundera once said that. So, what clue does it give you what our next presentation might be about? Business has only two functions, marketing and innovation. Arina Borisovna, do we have ideas in the chat?
Yes, we have some ideas from Ksenia, who thinks it will be about trends. You're close, but if we narrow it down a little bit, trends in what? The future, profession, and work. Great.
Okay, so having looked into social, psychological, and biological nature of impressions, now we would have a look at impressions from the business point of view. And our last speaker is Irina Boldasheva, second-year student of hospitality at RANEPA, who will deliver the presentation entitled Impressions Marketing in the Restaurant Business. Irina, are you with us?
Yes. Thank you.
Great.
Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, everything's fine.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My aim today is to answer the question, is impression from the product much more important than the product itself? So, let's get the ball rolling. Firstly, I'll share some background of impressions marketing. In the modern world, the service sector is represented by a large number of enterprises, which leads to a stiff competition in this sector. So most businesses today realize that the standard elements of marketing, such as sales, are no longer able to attract customers efficiently. But is there any solution of this problem? Definitely, and it is impressions marketing. So what is impressions marketing exactly? In general, impressions marketing is a set of activities aimed at forming a strong emotional connection between the customer and the brand. So traditional advertising focuses only on oral and visual displays of the benefits of consumers. But at the same time, impressions marketing promotes a more complete immersion of the customers inside the brand. So you might have a question, why impressions marketing is relevant for the restaurant industry. In fact, successful application of impressions marketing to the restaurant business can lead to increased brand awareness. Besides, it increase consumer loyalty, and it stimulates the positive word of mouth. So impressions marketing is a great effective tool because it puts impressions above the value of goods and services. It helps restaurateurs to identify their potential customers, and at the same time, it helps customers in experiencing the product in an interactive way. Let's look now at some examples. The first example is service. For most customers, service is a key aspect of interaction with restaurants. So it's worth appreciating successful waiters, motivate them, and improve their qualifications at trainings. The second example could be social media. Most progressive brands today create their own corporate pages and communities in popular social networks, and that's how they interact with the target audience. The last example for today is interior. The aim of interior actually is to create an ambience that sets up guests only for positive impressions and emotions. And this brings us to the end of my talk. To sum up, I can say that impressions marketing has a significant impact on restaurant promotion. However, I don't fully agree that impressions marketing, that impressions are more important than the product itself. Actually, marketing, service, interior design, restaurant meals are a complex, interconnected unit. Only when the quality of each of these components is adjusted, the restaurant becomes really successful. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Irina. That was very informative. Okay, so now our last and very short round of Q&As, and we do have several questions. So, is impressions marketing really profitable, Irina?
Actually, as I said, the main aim of impressions marketing is to build a strong connection between the consumer and the brand, and this leads to the fact that guests return to their establishment again and again, and this is naturally brings profit to the restaurant. Yes, so it is profitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So I think we are almost over.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. It is now time to close the session. After a very productive day and interesting presentations, the closing word for today's session, we can say truly that the future belongs to those who know and value traditions, because they take the best from the past. The future belongs to the planners and the innovators because they create it. The future belongs to those who love our planet, for they will make sure that we will have an earth to walk on. And finally, the future belongs to hospitality professionals who create powerful memories, unforgettable impressions, and unique experiences. Thank you all for being with us here today, not tonight yet, for your active participation and for your very interesting questions. All speakers, if you please turn on your cameras, we would like to take a photo, a group photo. And if you just join me in a group photo and wave your hand and say cheese, cheese, and one more, cheese. Lots of happy faces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We hope that you really enjoyed it.
It was really interesting, yeah. And well, the teachers' creative juices, yeah, were perfect. Were perfect. The teachers' creative juices, yeah, great. I like your your approach with all those quotations and puzzles, hugely involving the audience. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you very much.
Positive assessment.
Thank you, colleagues and students. May I join you just for a second to hand in electronic certificates to all the speakers of the section. I will not be pronouncing all the names and surnames, just for you to know that the electronic certificates are already prepared and the organizers will send it to you by email. All the speakers.
Thank you. And see you next year for a next conference. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.